Namaste everyone, I'm your co-host Shawnee ma'am. Welcome to your favorite learning channel. The topic for today's video is factors of food spoilage and its effects. So in our previous videos we had learned that consuming a balanced diet, that is the food which is filled with lots of nutrients, is very important for maintaining a good health. And by health I mean both physical as well as mental health. Correct? Now we will be studying about how food gets spoiled. Okay? So what is food spoilage? Okay? So first question is food spoilage. So do you know what is food spoilage? So food spoilage is actually a process. Okay? It is a process by which the food that we eat, this food gets contaminated. Okay, the food gets contaminated to a point, okay, to such a point at which it becomes unfit. The food becomes unfit for consumption. Okay, so this process is called food spoilage. Okay, so a spoiled food, how can we understand that a food is spoiled? So a spoiled food would show color change. Okay, then there would be change in color, then it would emit foul smell. It would emit foul smell and also would taste bad. Okay, so by these changes in food we can make out that the food is spoiled. Okay, now let's see what are the factors. Okay, the factors of food spoilage. So let's see what are the factors of food spoilage. So there are different factors of food spoilage. So to enlist them, I would start with time. So time is a factor that is responsible for spoilage of food. Then microorganisms are responsible for food spoilage. Then enzymes. Okay, enzymes are responsible for food spoilage. Then the next would be environmental and chemical factors. Okay, they also cause spoilage of food. Okay, then spoilage can also be caused by insects, rodents and pests. Okay, so here 5 things I have enlisted, that these are the factors that cause food spoilage. Let's look at these one by one. Let's start with time. So what happens? The food gets spoiled. Food gets spoiled. And why? It happens due to the change. It happens due to the change in food. Okay, the change in food itself, and this happens in course of time. So in course of time the food itself gets changed and this causes the food to get spoiled. Okay, the next factor is microorganisms. Okay, so most of the microorganisms, they grow best in room temperature. Okay, so these microbes that grow best at room temperature, these microbes, they attack the uncovered food. They attack uncovered food kept in room temperature. Okay, so the uncovered food that is kept at room temperature, they are attacked by these microorganisms that best grow in room temperature. Okay, and this results in spoilage of food. Okay, so for example of microorganisms can be bacteria, fungi, etc. These microbes can attack the uncovered food kept at room temperature, resulting in spoilage of food. Now the third factor is enzyme. Okay, enzymes can also be called as biological catalysts. Okay, so what happens in the presence of enzyme? In the presence of enzyme, what happens is the presence of enzyme spoil the food. They can spoil the food. They can sometimes cause spoilage of food. For example, we'll understand this with an example. For example, banana turns, we know the fruit banana. So banana turns from green to yellow, then to brown. This is because of enzymatic action. So not just the color but also the taste, texture, etc. also changes. Okay, it also changes, not just the color but the taste, texture of the banana also changes because of enzymatic activities, and these enzymes can also be called as biological catalysts. Then the fourth factor is environmental and chemical factors. So when food, what happens when the food that we eat, when food reacts with air? Okay, so when the food reacts with air, chemical process takes place. Chemical process occurs, or chemical process takes place in the food, and this produces, okay, and produces changes. This produces or causes change in food that would result in spoilage of the food. Okay, now the fifth factor is insects, pests and rodents. Okay, and etc. will mention. So all these creatures, that is insects, pests, rodents, etc., they cause physical damage. How do they cause spoilage? By causing physical damage. They cause physical damage to the food, thus causing its spoilage. Okay, so these are the 5 factors that cause spoilage in food. Now let's see what happens, that is the effects of eating spoiled food. Okay, let's see what are the effects of consuming or eating spoiled food to our health. Okay, so the health effects of eating spoiled or expired food ranges from none, that is nothing can happen, or to severe effects. Okay, so it is recommended not to eat the food items that are expired or that are spoiled. Okay, so what happens when the appearance, taste, texture and smell of the food change? It is an indication that the food is unsafe to eat. So when the texture, appearance, okay, the texture, appearance, taste, then smell of food, when all these things of food change, then it is an indication that it indicates, all these things indicates that the food is unfit or unsafe to eat. So such food must not be consumed. Okay, so the spoiled food can cause a condition. Spoiled food can cause, the food that is spoiled, what does it cause? It can cause a condition which is called food poisoning. Okay, so consumption of spoiled food, what does it cause? It causes food poisoning. Okay, which is caused by bacteria, and such food poisoning can be caused by bacteria. Okay, so the symptoms may include symptoms of food poisoning. Symptoms of food poisoning can include nausea, vomiting, then it can also cause diarrhea. Okay, diarrhea, stomach pain, etc. So all these are symptoms of food poisoning, and food poisoning can be caused by the consumption of spoiled food. Okay, so now let's quickly revise the things that we have studied till now. So we saw what was food spoilage. So we defined what food spoilage was. So food spoilage is actually a process by which the food gets contaminated. How much contaminated? To such a point that that food becomes unfit for consumption. So this process is called food spoilage. Now a spoiled food can be recognized by the change in its color. If the food emits foul smell and it tastes bad, then we can say that the food is spoiled. Then we have enlisted 5 factors of food spoilage. They are time, microorganisms, enzyme, environmental and chemical factors, then insects, rodents and pests. So we saw that food can get spoiled because of time. What happens is the food gets changed, the food itself gets changed in the course of time, and that can lead to spoilage of food. Then how microorganisms can spoil food? Microbes usually are the organisms that grow best in room temperature. So microbes can attack the uncovered food that is left or that is kept in room temperature, leading to the spoilage of food. So we have seen the examples of microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, etc. Then the next factor for food spoilage was enzymes. Enzymes can also be called as biological catalysts. So presence of enzyme can cause spoilage of food. For example, in banana we have seen that the banana fruit turns from green to yellow to brown. So not just the color changes but also the taste, texture, etc. of the banana also changes, and this spoilage happens due to the enzymatic activity. Then the next factor was environmental and chemical factors. So when the food reacts with air, the chemical processes takes place, and that leads to the change in food, which leads to the spoilage of food. Then the next factor we saw was insects, pests, rodents, etc. So these cause physical damage to the food, in turn resulting in spoilage of food. Then we saw the effects of eating spoiled food. So what happens? So spoiled food, the health effects of eating spoiled or expired food can range from none to severe. So when the texture or appearance or taste and smell of food, all these things, if they change in a food, then that indicates that the food is unsafe or unfit for consumption or unsafe to eat. So consumption of spoiled food causes a condition, and this condition is called food poisoning, and this food poisoning can be caused by bacteria. We also saw this various symptoms of food poisoning. So the symptoms of food poisoning include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, etc. Okay, so I hope you all would have got some great insights by watching today's video. Please do not forget to like and share the video. Till then, thank you for watching.